Hey guys, I did a get ready with me to get to this, and then I realized that the video has this horrible sound in the background from people who are clearing their rubbish. So I'm gonna try to start again so that I can actually get this done. Essentially, what we were talking about, to catch you up to speed, is the guilt that follows after you've said no. And when you're a recovering people pleaser, sometimes the saying no is one thing, but then what follows afterwards is the thing that you really want to avoid, which might be the punishment, the rejection, or those feelings that you have done something wrong. Okay, so I kind of want to challenge that idea that we've done something wrong, and just learn to accept, or I guess prepare you, give you some of the tools that say it's okay to say no, regardless of whether you think it was the right thing or the wrong thing. Because sometimes you don't necessarily know the reason why until afterwards, when you sit and you reflect and you make a conclusion as to what you would have liked to have done maybe differently next time. So this comes with a little bit of a story time because 2 days ago, the cleaner of this apartment building that I'm staying in, she asked me to check out 2 hours earlier today. I'm supposed to check out at 10, that's the agreement, but she asked me to check out at 8 a.m. And in the conversation, and bearing in mind, this is all through Google Translate because I don't speak Italian and she doesn't speak English. So she stopped me in the corridor. She said, when are you checking out? I said 10 o'clock. She said, could you check out at 8? I said, why? Kind of thing. And she said, there's new people who are coming at 10 o'clock. I said, I think you're going to have to tell them that they can't come at 10 because where am I going to go? She said, you can leave your stuff here in the corridor and then by the time you come back, you can pick up the key. You can drop off the keys to me, whatever. I said, yeah, that's great that I can leave my things there, but what am I going to do between 8 and 10? Like, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. What do you want me to do? So anyway, we went back and forth a little bit. And then I was like, well, that's not going to work for me because I have a meeting. And then she was like, you have a meeting. Okay, well, you can use the apartment across the way. And I was like, okay, cool. Can I shower in there? She said, no, you can't shower in there. And I was like, wait. So you're essentially asking me to check out 2 hours ahead of the time that we had pre-agreed based on the booking. And it's an inconvenience to me, but it just makes your life easier. That's the thought process that I got to in the end. But I had said to her, no, I don't think that's going to work. I'm really sorry, blah, blah, blah. And then I kind of walked away. Being a recovering people pleaser myself, I kind of walked away and I thought, did I do the right thing? Because I can wake up earlier and I can leave 2 hours earlier and I could do all of those things, but was that the right thing to do? And essentially I had to go through this whole thought process to kind of pull myself out of the spiraling that was about to happen. And one thing I must say is that on this trip, I've really been working on staying present in the moment and trying not to hold on to things of the past that I cannot let go, that I cannot change or go back and fix in any way. So first I had to deal with the idea that, okay, I cannot change it. Okay, can't change it. I've already said no. Let's just think about the process of letting go of this feeling, this guilty feeling that as though I had done something wrong. So I was judging. And even though right now I feel well within my right to have said no to that request, there was still a part of me that thought that I should have inconvenienced myself. So I wanted to process that. So I'm sitting on the bus now and I'm going back and forth and I'm like, oh my gosh. So then the thought process was, why did I say no? This is me having a conversation with myself, probably my younger self, because usually that's where the conversation needs to be had when the emotions are involved. And I say that and I mean that. The logic usually is the adult self that says, no, there's totally nothing wrong with that. And then the emotion is saying no, or something doesn't feel good, and so it must be wrong. So those two things have to have a conversation together. So that conversation was, why did I say no? And I said no because it would have been an inconvenience for me to adjust myself in that way. I was willing to go over to the other apartment if it was okay that I could shower, but that was also off the table. So actually, it would have been an inconvenience, and I was willing to adjust, but I was not willing to overextend myself. Okay, so that was why I said no. The next thing that I kind of went on to think about was I overstepping any boundaries? And then when I started to think about that, the essential answer is no. I wasn't overstepping any boundaries, but the boundaries that were being overstepped was my own. First of all, we had agreed that I would be leaving at 10 a.m. And then second of all, you asked the lady, she asked multiple times, a good more than a handful worth of times for me to leave, making it seem like there was no choice, essentially. So she was overstepping my boundaries. So then I was thinking, okay, so essentially what did I do wrong? And this is that conversation between younger self and present self, who somewhat understands the way of the world and understands that you didn't do anything wrong. There was a contract essentially that said you could check in at this time, you could check out at that time. She was asking me to disregard that to some degree and make life easier for her. So when I thought about, okay, so what was it that I actually did wrong? What I came up with was essentially, I said no to a request that could have made my life more challenging, but would have made someone else's life easier. And that is essentially the understanding that I would have developed in my earlier years, where my needs don't matter, even if it would be an inconvenience to meet your needs, okay? And that's something that we have to kind of challenge and rewire, even after many years of acknowledging that this is something that is sensitive to some degree for me. It doesn't trigger me in the same way, but it is something that you still have to kind of work on and acknowledge and be self-aware too. So essentially that question then came back to, okay, so did I do anything wrong? And because I had talked myself through that, the answer was no, I didn't do anything wrong. Essentially, it's not about whether other people will believe that you did the right thing or the wrong thing. It's whether you are in alignment and understanding the reason why you said no, and if you believe that was the right thing or the wrong thing. Okay, it's always about how you feel about it. The next thing is like thinking about, there was a part of me that was like, how dare she? How dare she ask me? But then again, thinking about, it's okay for people to ask, because essentially everyone is trying to get their needs met. Okay, like if she did ask and then I didn't mind, that would have been great. Needs met, no problem. But the fact that she asked is not the problem, okay? And we kind of have to think about what it's like for us when we make a request of someone else and they say no. You know, how does that feel? Because is it that we're taking their no as a rejection? Because a lot of the time it is not a rejection. It is purely just, it doesn't meet what they're trying to create. It causes them an inconvenience in some way. It's not really about you. So that's one of the things that also is important to think about. But looking at the time, I've got about 15 minutes left before I check out. And I really hope that this is something that can kind of kickstart that conversation that you have with yourself once you say no to someone that is so used to you saying yes, or even saying no to someone that you have no relation to at all. And just thinking about the process that you can follow to kind of address where that guilt is actually coming from. Because one thing that I know for sure is that I wasn't guilty about that situation, about saying no to that particular request. It was a feeling from much earlier on that kind of said, you should be putting other people's needs before your own. And that's where the validation and the healing comes, when you're able to address that and acknowledge that that wasn't necessarily the lesson that was most fruitful in your personal growth and development. So in saying all of that, you could probably hear the church bells in the background. That is my cue, because I need to go and get ready to actually leave on time now that I've said 10 o'clock. But I hope you have a good day, and I hope to see you again soon. And remember to subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, what you would have done, how you feel about saying no, any questions and reflections. I would love to hear them. So anyway, I'm going. Okay, bye.